Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Nara Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome for the class. So today we'll be discussing about the third seed verse, that is the from the second canto, 9th chapter, 35th shloka, that is the third seed verse. And this third seed verse actually speaks about Prayojana. And the 36th verse speaks about Abhidhe. Now, somebody might just wonder that why 35th verse is Prayojana, that is the goal. And the 35th is speaking about Prayojana, moving towards the goal. So, let's see what the Supreme Lord says that. So, I'll just give you a quick recap of what's happening because a couple of them have joined in just new. So, currently we are discussing about the 4 seed verses from Canto 2, chapter 9, wherein Brahma had asked some 4 questions to the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord speaks the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, and he concludes and he disappears. So Brahma is asking 4 questions that please tell me about your material and spiritual forms. How are the various spiritual and material energies of the Lord working? What are the Lord's activities in relation to his material and spiritual energies? And he's seeking the mercy of the Lord's service. He's saying, please bestow your mercy upon me so that I can execute your instructions without pride and without bondage to this particular work. So then in return, the Supreme Lord speaks. He speaks about his material and spiritual forms. He speaks about his energies also. And now he'll speak about his activities in relation to his energies in the 35th shloka. So he says that Yatha mahanti bhutani bhuteshu cha vacheshvanu pravishtanya pravishtani tatha teshu tatev shabham. So this is a very long purport. It has almost, in the canto that I am seeing over here is at almost 11 pages. So maybe I might just divide it into some between devotees. Oh, sorry. This is, yeah, the 36th shloka, I think, is the little longer one. I beg your pardon. The 36th, not the 35th one. Okay. So let me just share the screen with you all. Sushil Prabhu, your health is okay, Prabhu? You will be able to read or you need some
Yes,
still?
Mother, make an effort, Mother.
Okay, Prabhu, read. We'll not we'll not stress you much, but how much ever you can read, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother. Translation: O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time I am outside of everything. Purport: the great elements of material creation namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether, all enter into the body of all manifested entities. The seas, mountains, aquatics, plants, reptiles, birds, beasts, human beings, demigods, and everyone materially manifested. And at the same time, such elements are differently situated. In the developed stage of consciousness, the human being can study both physiological and physical science, but the basic principles of such sciences are nothing but the material elements and nothing more. The body of the human being and the body of the mountain, as also the bodies of the demigods, including Brahma, are all of the same ingredients, earth, water, etc. And at the same time, the elements are beyond the body. The elements were created first, and therefore they entered into the bodily constructions later. But in both circumstances, they entered the cosmos and also did not enter. Similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his different energies, namely the internal and external, is within everything in the manifested cosmos, and at the same time, he is outside of everything, situated in the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha Loka, as described before. This is very nicely stated in Brahma Samhita as follows. Mataji, keep that and read.
Yeah, this is Prabhuji, very nice shloka. This is Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Bhistabirya Eva Nijarupataya Kalabi Goloka Eva Nivatsatya Khilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. I worship the personality of Godhead Govinda, who by expansion of his internal potential, transcendental existence, knowledge and bliss, enjoys in his own and expanded form. Simultaneously, he enters into every atom of the creation. This expansion of his plenary parts is also more definitely explained in the same Brahma Samhita 5.35 as follows.
एकोप्यस्योरचितं जगदण्डकोटिं यच्चक्तिरस्ति जगदण्डछयान् यदन्त अण्डान्तरस्थपरमाणुचयान्तस्थं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि.
Thank you, Mataji. I worship the personality of Godhead Govinda, who by one of his plenary portions enters into the existence of every universe and every particle of the atoms, and thus unlimitedly manifests his infinite energy all over the material creation. The impersonalist can imagine or even perceive that the Supreme Brahman is thus all pervading, and therefore they conclude that there is no possibility of his personal form. Herein lies the mystery of his transcendental knowledge. The mystery is transcendental love of Godhead, and one who is surcharged with such transcendental love of Godhead can without difficulty see the personality of Godhead in every atom and every movable and immovable object. And at the same time, he can see the personality of Godhead in his own abode, Goloka, enjoying eternal pastimes with his eternal associates, who are also expansions of his transcendental existence. This vision is really mystery of spiritual knowledge as stated by the Lord in the beginning. Sarahasham tat angam cha. This mystery is most confidential part of the knowledge of the Supreme, and it is impossible for the mental speculators to discover by dint of intellectual gymnastics. The mystery can be revealed through the process recommended by Brahmaji in his Brahma Samhita 5.38 as.
Yeah, very nice shloka. This is also Prabhu. This is Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achinya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Thank you, Mataji. I worship the original personality of Godhead Govinda, whom the pure devotees, their eyes smeared with the ointment of love of Godhead, always observe within their hearts. That Govinda, the original personality of Godhead, is Shamsundara with all transcendental qualities.
Yeah, Prabhu.
Therefore, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. We don't want that you should do a little voice stretch more. But yeah. Vignesh Prabhu? Vignesh Prabhu, you're there?
Yeah, I am there. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
So I want to tell one thing. Vignesh Prabhu's mother reads Hindi Bhagavatam in the afternoon with me, and Vignesh Prabhu reads English Bhagavatam at night. The mother-daughter duo is like so nice that mother reads in the afternoon, the child reads in the evening. Yeah. Yeah, Prabhu, continue.
Yeah. Therefore, although he is present in every atom, the Supreme Personality of Godhead may not be visible to the dry speculators. Still, the mystery is unfolded before the eyes of the pure devotees, because their eyes are anointed with love of Godhead. And this love of Godhead can be attained only by the practice of transcendental loving service of the Lord and nothing else. The vision of the devotees is not ordinary. It is purified by the process of devotional service. In other words, as the universal elements are both within and without, similarly, the Lord's name, form, quality, pastimes, entourage, etc., as they are described in the revealed scriptures or as performed in the Vaikuntha Lokas, far, far beyond the material cosmic manifestation, are factually being televised in the heart of the devotee. The man with a poor fund of knowledge cannot understand, although by material science one can see things far away by means of television. Factually, the spiritually developed person is able to have the television of the kingdom of God always reflected within his heart. That is the mystery of knowledge of the personality of Godhead. The Lord can award anyone and everyone liberation, mukti, from the bondage of material existence. Yet he rarely awards the privilege of love of Godhead, as confirmed by Narada. Muktim dadati karhichit smana bhakti yogam. This transcendental devotional service of the Lord is so wonderful that the occupation keeps the deserving devotee always wrapped in psychological activities without deviation from the absolute touch. Thus, love of Godhead developed in the heart of the devotee is a great mystery. Brahmaji previously told Narada that the desires of Brahmaji are never unfulfilled because he is always absorbed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Nor has he any desire in his heart save and except the transcendental service of the Lord. That is the beauty and mystery of the process of Bhakti Yoga. As the Lord's desire is infallible because he is Achyuta, similarly the desires of the devotees in the transcendental service of the Lord are also Achyuta, infallible. This is very difficult, however, for the layman to understand without knowledge of the mystery of devotional service, as it is very difficult to know the potency of touchstone. As touchstone is rarely found, a pure devotee of the Lord is also rarely to be seen, even amongst millions of liberated souls. Koteshvapi Mahamune. Out of all kinds of perfections attained by the process of knowledge, yoga perfection in devotional service is the highest of all and the most mysterious also, even more mysterious than the 8 kinds of mystic perfection attained by the process of yogic performances. In the Bhagavad-gītā 18.64, the Lord therefore advised Arjuna about this Bhakti Yoga. Sarva guhyatamam bhuyah shunu me paramam vachah. Just hear from me again about the most confidential part of the instructions in Bhagavad-gītā. The same was confirmed by Brahmaji to Narada in the following words. Idham Bhagavatam nama yanme bhagavatoditam sangraho yam vibhutinam tvam etat vipulikuru. Brahmaji said to Narada, whatever I have spoken to you about the Bhagavatam was explained to me by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I am advising you to expand these topics nicely so that people may easily understand the mysterious Bhakti Yoga by transcendental loving service to the Lord. It is to be noted here that the mystery of Bhakti Yoga was disclosed to Brahmaji by the Lord himself. Brahmaji explained the same mystery to Narada. Narada explained it to Vyasa. Vyasa explained it to Shukadeva Goswami. And that same knowledge is coming down in the unalloyed chain of disciplic succession. If one is fortunate enough to have received the knowledge in the transcendental disciplic succession, surely he will have the chance to understand the mystery of the Lord and that of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the sound incarnation of the Lord.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank
So, in basically, this is this third verse that is there. That is actually Prayojan Tattva. It is like Rahasyam. Rahasya for what? Rahasya for Prema. Because when he is saying over here He's saying Yatha Mahanti Bhutani, saying just as the universal elements. And then he's saying that Bhutese Suchave Shichav Anu Pravishanti Aparavishanti. He's saying that because these universal elements, when they enter into this ocean, at the same time, they do not enter into this cosmos. They are entering only into the cosmos. They enter also, they do not enter also. And tatha teshu na teshu aham. So, in the same way, I also, Krishna says that I also exist within whatever is created, but at the same time, I'm outside also of everything. I'm aloof. I'm in also and out also. That's called Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva. So Shri Sridhar Goswami explains that Rahasya means actually pure devotional service. And Shri Jeev Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha, he says that the Lord is describing actually the secret of love for him. And he's translating this verse that all these material elements are simultaneously within and without the cosmos. So even I am also simultaneously with the devotees' thoughts and also outside the devotees manifest before their senses. So because the devotees are dedicating everything to me, I appear before them in my form filled with bliss and love, and that is my secret. So this verse is referring to rahasya, secret, very confidential, you can say. Or you can say rahasya means something mysterious also. So, and what is that rahasya actually? That most secret thing or the confidential thing or this mysterious goal is actually prema bhakti. And Shri Krishna Kaviraj Goswami is saying that the ultimate goal of life is actually affection for the Supreme Lord. The moment you develop this affection for the Supreme Lord, that is actually the ultimate goal of any human being's life. But people seldomly, realize this until unless they get this knowledge. And Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this rahasya is prema bhakti. And this rahasya is only revealed to the perfect devotees who have a right kind of qualification to realize this subject matter. So imagine, by the mercy of Prabhupada, we are so very fortunate that Prabhupada has given his purports. And in those purports, Prabhupada has actually openly spoken about Prema Bhakti, openly spoken about this rahasya. And even Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Bhajan Rahasya, he says that this Chatashloki actually, the Lord has stated that all his pure devotees are completely dependent on him. And when they are realizing him, that, Kṛṣṇa is the ever blissful object or the rahasya, and he is the ever blissful object, and that object is known as prema. So the synonym of Kṛṣṇa would be prema, and it is known as rahasya because ordinary people cannot realize it. बोले ना confidential है भाई, उसके लेवल का नहीं है, ये समझ नहीं पाएगा. या इसको बोलते ना कि मराठी में बोलते हैं उसको याला झेपणार नहीं, या हिंदी में उसको बोलते हैं इसकी बस की नहीं है, राइट? और in English we say that it is it is not within his realm, like that. And Prabhupada, imagine, he's quoting, in this purport, he's quoting Brahma Samhita purports that qualification to realize this subject matter only lies with the devotees who have anointed their eyes with the love of Godhead. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. So, so wonderful wonderfully actually, Prabhupada is also covering so many lovely points and so wonderful. In fact, uh, uh, if you see, Prabhupada actually in these purports is giving Raganuga Bhakti for us. So we have Bhava Bhakti, we have Prema Bhakti. Prema Bhakti means Raganuga Bhakti. So he is actually giving us Raganuga Bhakti over here, but seldomly means people will realize this, that, oh, he's speaking about Raganuga Bhakti in the Bhagavatam. Like, so the Lord is very much detached. The Lord is detached, in relationship with the activities of his Mahamaya, and is very much attached in his relationship with the activities of Yogamaya. And all these elements are, in pure state, but when they enter into the material world, then Krishna is aloof. Krishna says that I am aloof from the material world. So this is what is being said in this shloka. Let's go to the next. Next shloka is a little longer one. 11 pages. And in fact, it is so self-explanatory. I mean, there is no need of giving any explanation to it. Prabhupada has given such a long purport to it. Such a long purport to it. So, in this 36th shloka, he says that any person who's desiring, because see, this 36th shloka is about sadhana bhakti, the prayojan, the endeavor. So any person who's desiring to know the best sadhana and this goal of that sadhana, he must then learn by surrender to his spiritual master. And he should surrender to his spiritual master and seek or learn about the absolute truth, which is determined as the best by obtaining these positive results through this performance. And by lack of these results, though you don't perform vyatikarambhyam, or by performance it at all times, at all places, yat sayat sarvatra sarvada. So only by this practice of bhakti can we overcome lethargy and pride. Because see, Brahmaji is telling that please give me a benediction, please shower your mercy upon me, that I want, that I should not be attacked by lethargy or pride. So, if someone asks about that one verse about the glory of devotional service, then actually it is this particular verse. What is the glory of devotional service? At one verse, one place, then this is that. So that person who is actually tattva jigyasu, who is very inquisitive to know about the best sadhana, the best goal, then what he should do? Then he should do jigyasam. Jigyasam to whom then? Jigyasam to the spiritual master. He should surrender to the guru. He should inquire from him, and then from that guru, he should inquire about the subject matter. Then which subject matter? Then the subject matter is which is the best sadhana, or which is the best goal of that sadhana. So then what will a qualified spiritual master do? Then a qualified spiritual master, a bona fide spiritual master, he will teach him. He will teach him about that path, which is the direct path, which gives a direct result. ऐसे नहीं घुमा घुमा के उसको बोलेंगे, no. About the direct path, about bhakti, he will say. And when he's following that path, or he's performing activities in that path, then he's seeing result. But if he's not performing, then he will not see any result. So one will be able to know by the effectiveness of that particular path. So if you're performing, then you will see result. And if you're not performing, you will not see result. Like for example, We all are on this particular forum. Okay, 11 of us are there on this forum. Okay. Aren't we seeing any effectiveness in this path? Are we not seeing any result in this path? Are we not seeing that our pride, anger, ego, envy, has been reduced over a period of time? So that's the effectiveness of this particular path, that is Bhakti Yoga. And the very fact is that we all on a regular basis are reading this Bhagavatam. Other than that, always when I have problem, you all are also stuck up with me. But we are eager to hear Bhagavatam every day at a stipulated time. So that is the effectiveness. And somebody was asking me from this particular forum that, oh, Mataji, when I read this, I forget everything. I am, I just don't remember anything. So I asked her, something, because this was the same question I'd asked, somebody else also from whom I was hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. I said, Prabhu, I forget everything. He's saying, but do you feel that you want to read it again? I said, yes, I want to read it again and again. He said that, okay, do you feel like chanting after reading this? I said, yes, of course. Daily morning, the first thing we do is, push our hands into the beads, and nobody has to tell us or force us. Then he's asking me that, okay, do you feel like, doing all those devotional activities that are being told, like Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam and all? I said, yes, I feel like doing all those. Then he's saying, do you feel that you're being nurtured? I said, yeah. He's saying this, yes. That's the effect of, or the effectiveness of this path, is that when you're reading, when you're performing devotional service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, who actually shows us that path, so we are being nurtured. We've been nurtured by reading the Bhagavatam. We are nurtured by actually doing the devotional process. So, and that's how we feel like again and again coming back to that book, reading it again. I know so many devotees who must have read the Bhagavatam 20, 30 times. And they never get tired reading it again the 21st time also. So this is the sweetness of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And of course, this is the greatness also of the Bhagavatam, that the Bhagavatam is giving us shelter. The Bhagavatam has given us an eternal shelter at its lotus feet. Now, how at its lotus feet? Because we have read the Canto number 1. We are still at the lotus feet because we are reading Canto number 2 also. And because now we have got the shelter of the lotus feet, we have read it, sufficient enough of nurturing has been done, we will be able to appreciate the 3rd canto, that is the thighs of the Supreme Lord. And slowly, and as we progress towards the canto, when we come to the 10th canto, we'll be able to appreciate the beautiful face. Otherwise, we'll keep on envying the Supreme Lord. We'll keep on envying his greatness also, and we'll keep on envying his sweetness also. Because if somebody is not reading these cantos thoroughly, or of course, even if at some places, if somebody is really not attentive, that really Kṛṣṇa is actually not very particular. Oh, one word she missed. Now no realization. No, Kṛṣṇa is like, he sees the intent and not the content. He's seeing your intent, that yes, every day, sincerely, she's coming, reading, she's trying to understand, she's serving her. So she's serving with her intellect. She's serving with her intelligence, body, mind, words, and intelligence. So we are serving the Supreme Lord by our intelligence when we are reading the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Okay, let's dive into the shloka. He says that etavadeva jigyasyam tattva jigyasum atmanam anvaya vyatikarebhyam yasyat sarvatra sarvada. Very important this line is. Sarvatra and sarvada, not like that 1 minute, 2 minute. Such a path can be practiced at all times by all kinds of people. Sarvatra and Sarvada. So, Anup Prabhu, please read the translation and the purport. I might halt you at some place, Prabhu, for others a chance, because 11 pages the purport is. So yeah, read, yeah.
Translation. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. Purport. To unfold the mystery of Bhakti Yoga, as it is explained in the previous verse, is the ultimate stage of all inquiries, or the highest objective for the inquisitive. Everyone is searching after self-realization in different ways. By Karma Yoga, by Jnana Yoga, by Dhyana Yoga, by Raja Yoga, by Bhakti Yoga, etc. To engage in self-realization is the responsibility of every living entity developed in consciousness. One who is developed in consciousness certainly makes inquiries into the mystery of the self, of the cosmic situation, and of the problems of life, in all spheres and fields. Social, political, economic, cultural, religious, moral, etc., and in their different branches. But here, the goal of all such inquiries is explained. The Vedanta Sutra philosophy begins with this inquiry about life, and the Bhagavatam answers such inquiries up to this point, or the mystery of all inquiries. Lord Brahma wanted to be perfectly educated by the personality of Godhead, and here is the answer by the Lord, finished in 4 nutshell verses. From Aham Eva to this verse, Etavad Eva. This is the end of all self-realization process. Men do not know that the ultimate goal of life is Vishnu, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, due to being bewildered by the glaring reflection in the darkness, and as such, everyone is entering into the darkest region of material existence, driven by the uncontrolled senses. The whole material existence has sprung up because of sense gratification. Desire is based principally on the sex desire, and the result is that in spite of all advancement of knowledge, and the final goal of all the activities of living entities is sense gratification. But here is the real goal of life, and everyone should know it by inquiries put before a bona fide spiritual master, expert in the science of Bhakti Yoga, or from a living personality of Bhagavatam life. Everyone is engaged in various kinds of scriptural inquiries, but the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam gives answers to all of the various students of self-realization. This ultimate objective of life is not to be searched out without great labor or perseverance. One who is imbued with such sincere inquiries must ask the bona fide spiritual master in the disciplic succession from Brahmaji, and that is the direction given here. Because the mystery was disclosed before Brahmaji by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the mystery of all such inquiries regarding self-realization must be put before such a spiritual master who is directly the representative of the Lord, acknowledged in that disciplic succession. Such a bona fide spiritual master is able to clear up the whole thing by evidence from the revealed scriptures, both direct and indirect. Although everyone is free to consult the revealed scriptures in this connection, one still requires the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, and that is the direction in this verse. The bona fide spiritual master is the most confidential representative of the Lord, and one must receive direction from the spiritual master in the same spirit that Brahmaji received it from the personality of Godhead, Lord Kṛṣṇa. The bona fide spiritual master in that bona fide chain of disciplic succession never claims to be the Lord himself, although such a spiritual master is greater than the Lord in the sense that he can deliver the Lord by his personally realized experience. The Lord is not to be found simply by education or by a good fertile brain, but surely he can be found by the sincere student through the transparent medium of the bona fide spiritual master. The revealed scriptures give direction directly to this end, but because the bewildered living entities are blinded by the glaring reflection in the darkness, they are unable to find the truth of the revealed scriptures. For example, in the Bhagavad-gītā, the whole direction is targeted toward the personality of Godhead, Lord Śrī Krishna. But for want of a bona fide spiritual master in the line of Brahmaji or the direct hearer, Arjun, there are different distortions of the revealed knowledge by many unauthorized persons who just want to satisfy their own whims. Undoubtedly, the Bhagavad-gītā is accepted as one of the most brilliant stars in the horizon of the spiritual sky. Yet the interpretations of this great book of knowledge have so grossly been distorted that every student of the Bhagavad-gītā is still in the same darkness of glaring material reflections. Such students are hardly enlightened by the Bhagavad-gītā. In the Gita, practically the same instruction is imparted as in 4 prime verses of the Bhagavatam, but due to wrong and fashionable interpretations by unauthorized persons, one cannot reach the ultimate conclusion. In the Bhagavad-gītā, 18.61, it is clearly said, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshi arjuna tishtati brahman sarva bhutni yatantu rudani maya. The Lord is situated in the heart of all living beings as Paramatma, and he is controlling all of them in the material world under the agency of his external energy. Therefore, it is clearly mentioned that the Lord is the supreme controller and that the living entities are controlled by the Lord. In the same Bhagavad-gītā, 18.65, the Lord directs as follows, Man mana bhavavan bhakto madhyayimam namaskuru mam ibasasi satyante patityaje prayo isime. It is clear from this verse of the Bhagavad-gītā that the direction of the Lord is one should be God-minded, a devotee of the Lord, a worshipper of the Lord, and must offer all obeisances unto Lord Krishna. By doing so, the devotee will undoubtedly go back to God and back to home. Indirectly, it is said that the whole Vedic social construction of human society is so made that everyone acts as a part and parcel of the complete body of the Lord. The intelligent class of men, or the Brahmins, are situated in the face of the Lord. The administrative class of men, the Kshatriyas, are situated in the arms of the Lord. The productive class of men, the Vaishyas, are situated in the belt of the Lord. And the labor class of men, the Shudras, are situated on the legs of the Lord. Therefore, the complete social construction of the body of the Lord and all the parts of the body, namely the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras, are meant to serve the Lord's whole body conjointly. Otherwise, the parts become unfit to be coordinated with the supreme consciousness of oneness. Universal consciousness is factually achieved by coordinated service of all concerned to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that alone can ensure total perfection. Therefore, even the great scientists, the great philosophers, the great mental speculators, the great politicians, the great industrialists, the great social reforms, etc., cannot give any relief to the restless society of the material world because they do not know the secret of success as mentioned in this verse of the Bhagavatam. Namely, that one must know the mystery of Bhakti Yoga. In the Bhagavad-gītā 7.15 is also it is said, Namam duskritinam hudha prabhadyante nahadana maha maya va yarpita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita, because the so-called great leaders of human society are ignorant of this great knowledge of Bhakti Yoga and are always engaged in ignoble acts of sense gratification, bewildered by the external energy of the Lord. They are stubborn rebels against the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of God, and they never agree to surrender unto him because they are fools, miscreants, and the lowest type of human beings. Such faithless non-believers may be highly educated in the material sense of the term, but factually they are the greatest fools of the world because by the influence of the external material nature, all their so-called acquisition of knowledge has been null and void. Therefore, all advancements of knowledge in the present context of things is being misused by the cats and dogs, fighting with one another for sense gratification, and all acquisition of knowledge in science, philosophy, fine arts, nationalism, economic development, religion, and great activities are being spoilt as being used as dresses for dead men. There is no utility in the dresses used for covering a coffin of a dead body, save getting false applause from the ignorant public. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam therefore says again and again that without attainment to the status of Bhakti Yoga, all the activities of human society are to be considered absolute failures only. It is said, Parabhava tavat abodh jat yavanna ignasata atmatattvam yavat kriya tavat idam manobhai karmatamakam yanasarra sarabandha. Bhagavatam 5.5.5. As long as one is blind to inquiring after self-realization, all material activities, however great they may be, are all different kinds of defeat, because the aim of human life is not fulfilled by such unwanted and profitless activities. The function of the human body is to attain freedom from material bondage, but as long as one is fully absorbed in material activities, his mind will be overwhelmed in the whirlpool of matter, and thus he will continue to be encaged in material bodies life after life. Evam mana karma vasam payukte avidyatmani upadhi yamane yavam maya vasudeva yamuchate dehayogane tavat. Bhagavatam 5.5.6. It is one's mind that generates different kinds of bodies for suffering different kinds of material pangs. Therefore, as long as the mind is absorbed in fruitive activities, the mind is understood to be absorbed in essence. And thus one is sure to be subjected to material bondage in different bodies again and again until one develops a transcendental love for Godhead, Vasudeva, the Supreme Person. To become absorbed in the transcendental name, quality, form, activity of the Supreme Person, Vasudeva, means to change the temper of the mind from matter to absolute knowledge, which leads one to the path of absolute realization and thus frees one from the bondage of material contact and engagements in different material bodies. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada therefore comments on this word Sarvata Sarvada in the sense that the principles of Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to the Lord, are apt in all circumstances. That is, Bhakti Yoga is recommended in all the revealed scriptures. It is performed by all authorities. It is important in all places. It is useful in all causes and effects, etc. As far as all the revealed scriptures are concerned, he quotes from the Skanda Purana on the topics of Brahma and Narada as follows. Samsara asmin mahagora janma mrityu samakule pujam vasudevasya tarakam vadibhi smitam. In the material world, which is full of darkness and dangers combined with birth and death and full of different anxieties, the only way to get out of this great entanglement is to accept loving transcendental devotional service to Lord Vasudeva. This is accepted by all classes of philosophers. Srila Jiva Goswami also quotes another common passage, which is found in the three Puranas, namely the Padma Puran, Skanda Puran, and Linga Puran. It runs as follows. Alodya sarva sastrani vicharita puna punaha idam ekam sunispanam diye narayana sadaha. By scrutinizingly reviewing all the revealed scriptures and judging them again and again, it is now concluded that Lord Narayana is the supreme absolute truth and thus he alone should be worshipped. The same truth is also indirectly described in the Garud Purana as follows. Param gato api vedanam sarva sastrata vede api yona sarvasave bhakta tam vidyat puru sadamam. Even though one may have gone to the other side of all Vedas, and even though one is well versed in all the revealed scriptures, if one is not a devotee to the Supreme Lord, he must be considered in the lowest of mankind. Similarly, it is also stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 5.18.12, indirectly as follows: Yasyati bhakti bhagavati akinchana sarva gunes tata samsati surahi harav abhaktasya kuta mahad guna mano ratena sati davda bahir. One who has unflinching devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead must have all the good qualities of the demigods, and contrarily, one who is not a devotee of the Lord must be hovering in the darkness of mental speculation and thus must be engaged in the material impermanence. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11.11.18 says, Sabda Brahme Nisnata Nanisnayat Parayade Samastasya Samapala Haedenam Eva Rak Sataha. One may be well versed in all the transcendental literature of the Vedas, but if he fails to be acquainted to the Supreme, then it will be concluded that all his education is like the burden of a beast or like one's keeping a cow without milking capacity. Similarly, the liberty of discharging loving devotion, loving transcendental service to the Lord is invested in everyone, even the woman, the Shudras, the forest tribes, or any other living beings born in sinful conditions. Tavaivadanti atiraranti chadeva mayam Shri Sudra Huna Sabbara Apipapa Jivaha Yadi Adbhuta Krama Parayana Laksitas Triya Jan Api Kimu Sutdarane. Yeah. Bhagavatam 2.7.46. The lowest of human beings can be elevated to the highest state of devotion if they are trained by their bona fide spiritual master, well versed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. If the lowest can be so elevated, then what to speak of the highest, who are well versed in the Vedic knowledge? The conclusion is that devotional service to the Lord is open for all regardless of who they are. That is a confirmation of his application for all kinds of performers of the service. Therefore, the devotional service to the Lord with perfect knowledge through the training of a bona fide spiritual master is advised for everyone, even if one happens not to be a human being. This is confirmed in the Garud Purana as follows. The Pakshi Mighanam Cha Hara Sanyasa Setasam Urdvam Ivagatim Manya Kimpuna Gyaninam Nirnam. Even the worms, birds, beasts are short of elevation to the highest perfection life if they are completely sent to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So what to speak of the philosophers amongst the human beings? Therefore, there is no need to seek properly qualified candidates for discharging devotional service to the Lord. Let them be either well-behaved or ill-trained. Let them be either learned or fools. Let them be either grossly attached or in the renounced order of life. Let them be liberated souls or desirous of salvation. Let them be inexpert in the discharge of devotional service or expert in the same. All of them can be elevated to supreme position by discharging devotional service under the proper guidance. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad-gītā 9:30-32 as follows. Apecha sudura charo bhajama manyabha saduriva sa mantayavaya samyak vyasito isaha mami pata vyasritaya ye api papayona siyavasyatada sudatapi yanti param gatim. Even if a person is fully addicted to all sorts of sinful acts, if he happens to be engaged in a loving transcendental service of the Lord under proper guidance, he is to be considered the most perfect holy man without a doubt, and thus any person whatsoever and whosoever he or she may be, even the fallen woman, the less intelligent laborer, the dull mercantile man, or even a man lower than all these, can attain the highest perfection of life by going back home, back to God, provided he or she takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in all earnestness. This sincere earnestness is the only qualification that can lead one to the highest perfection stage of life. And unless and until such real earnestness is aroused, there is a difference between cleanliness or uncleanliness, learning or non-learning in the material estimation. Fire is always fire, and thus if someone touches the fire, knowingly or unknowingly, the fire will act in its own way without discrimination. The principle is, Hari harati papne dushtaste api smritaha. The all-powerful Lord can purify the devotees of all sinful reaction, just as the sun can sterilize all sorts of infection by its powerful rays. Attraction for material enjoyment cannot act upon a pure devotee of the Lord. There are hundreds and thousands of aphorisms in the revealed scriptures. Atma Rama Chamunaya. Even the self-realized souls are also attracted by the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Kichit kevale bhakti vasudeva parayanaha. Simply by hearing and chanting, one becomes a great devotee of Lord Vasudeva. Chalati Bhagavat Padara Vindal Devani Simarsadam Apisa Vaishnava Griha. A person who does not move from the lotus feet of the Lord even for a moment or a second is to be considered the greatest fall of Vaishnavas. Bhagavata Prasadam Prapte Matseva Patitam Te. The pure devotees are convinced of attaining the association of the personality of Godhead, and thus they are always engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, in all continents, in all planets, in all universes, devotional service of the Lord or Bhakti Yoga is current. And that is the statement of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and allied scriptures. Everywhere means in every part of the creation of the Lord. The Lord can be served by all senses and even simply by the mind. The South Indian Brahmin who served the Lord simply on the strength of his mind also factually realized the Lord. Success is guaranteed for a devotee who fully engages any one of his senses in the mode of devotional service. The Lord can be served by any ingredient, even the most common commodity, a flower, a leaf, a fruit, or a little water, which are available in any part of the universe and without cost. And thus the Lord is served universally by the universal entities. He can be served simply by hearing. He can be served simply by chanting or reading about his activities. He can be served simply by adoring him and accepting him. In the Bhagavad-gītā, it is stated that one can serve the Lord by offering the results of one's own work. It does not matter what one does. Generally, men may say that whatever they are doing is inspired by God, but that is not all. One should actually work on behalf of God as a servant of God. The Lord says in Bhagavad-gītā 9:27, Yat kurosh yat nasnas yat yijos yat das yat tapasyasi konte tat kuruse mat arpanam. Do whatever you like, whatever may be easy for you to do, eat whatever you may eat, sacrifice whatever you can sacrifice, give whatever you may give in charity, and do whatever you can, whatever you may undertake in penance, but everything may be done for him only. If you do business or if you accept some employment, do so on behalf of the Lord. Whatever you eat, you may offer the same to the Lord and be assured that he will return the food after eating it himself. And he is complete whole, and therefore whatever he may eat is offered by the devotees accepted because the devotees love. But again, it is returned as prasadam for the devotees so that he can be happy by eating. In other words, be a servant of the law of God and live peacefully in that consciousness, ultimately returning home back to Godhead. It is said in the Skanda Purana, Yasya smrite chana muktya tapu yagna kridayesu namam sampurtinatam iti sadya vanditam achitam. Offer my obeisances unto him, the infallible, because simply by remembering him or by vibrating his holy name, one can attain the perfection of all penances, sacrifices, or fruitive activities. And this process can be universally followed. It is enjoined in Bhagavad-gītā 2.3.10, Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udarade trivena bhakti yogena yajeda purusham param. Though a person be full of desires or have no desires, he may follow the spot of infallible bhakti yoga for complete perfection. One need not be anxious to propitiate each and every demigod and goddess, because the root of all them is the personality of Godhead. As by pouring water on the root of the tree, one serves and enlivens all the branches and leaves, so by rendering service unto the Supreme Lord, one automatically serves every god and goddess without extraneous effort. The Lord is all-pervading, and therefore service unto him is also all-pervading. The fact is corroborated in the Skanda Purana as follows. Archita Deva Devasi Skanda Chakra Gadadare Architaha Sarva Devas Suyur Yata Sarva Gato Harihi. When the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, who carries in his hands a conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower is worshipped, certainly all other demigods are worshipped automatically, because Hari, the Personality of God, is all-pervading. Therefore, in all cases, namely nominative, objective, causative, dative, ablative, possessive, and supportive, everyone is benefited by such transcendental loving service to the Lord. The man who worships the Lord himself who is worshipped, the cause for which the Lord is worshipped, the source of supply, the place where such worship is done, etc. Everything is benefited by such an action. Even during the annihilation of the material world, the process of bhakti yoga can be applied. Kale nasta pralaya vaniyam. The Lord is worshipped in devastation because he protects the Vedas from being annihilated. He is worshipped in every millennium of yoga. It is, as it is said in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 12.3.52, Kriti ya dayati vasnam triyetam yedu make dvape paricharyam kalutadari kritanat. In the Vishnu Purana, it is also written, Yashani tamahat chidram samuho sacha vibrama yad muhurtam sanam vapi vasudem na chintayat. If even for a moment remembrance of which Vasudev, Supreme Personality of God, is missed, that is the greatest loss. That is the greatest illusion, and that is the greatest anomaly. The Lord can be worshipped in all stages of life. For instance, even in the womb of their mothers, Maharaj Prahlad and Maharaj Parikshit worship the Lord. Even in his very childhood, at the age of only 5 years, Dhruva Maharaj worshipped the Lord. Even the full youth, Maharaj Ambarish worshipped the Lord. And even at the last stage of his frustration, old age, Maharaj Dhritarashtra worship the Lord. Ajamel worship the Lord even at the point of death, and Chitta-Ketu worship the Lord even in heaven and in hell. In the Narasimha Purana, he said that as the hellish inhabitants began to chant the holy name of the Lord, they began to be elevated from hell towards heaven. Durvashmani has also supported the view, Mucheta Yam Nami Udeti Naraka Api. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, the inhabitants of hell become released from their hellish persecution. So the conclusion of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as given by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit is, Itan nirvedya manamanam ichatam akuto bhayam yognam nirpa nintitam hare namanu kritanam. O king, it is finally decided that everyone, namely those in the renounced order of life, the mystics and the enjoyers of the fruit of work, should chant the holy name of the Lord fearlessly to achieve the desired success in the pursuit. Bhagavatam 2.1.11. Similarly, as indicated indirectly in various places of the revealed scriptures, even though one is well versed in all Vedas and scriptures, if one is not devoted to the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, is considered to be the lowest of mankind. True, in the Garud Purana, Brihad Narad Purana, and Padma Purana, the same is repeated. What is the use of Vedic knowledge and penances for one who is devoid of devotional service to the Lord? What is the comparison of thousands of Prajapatis to one devotee to the Lord? 4. Shukadeva Goswami said, Bhagavatam 2.4.17, that neither the ascetic or one who is greatly munificent, nor one who is famous, nor the great philosopher, nor the great occultists, nor anyone else can achieve the desired result without being engaged in the service of the Lord. 5. Even if a person is more glorious than heaven, if there is no glorification of the Lord of Vaikuntha or his pure devotee, it should at once be quitted. 6. The pure devotee refused to give all the 5 different types of liberation in order to be engaged in the service of the Lord. The final conclusion, therefore, is that the glories of the Lord must be always and everywhere proclaimed. One should hear about his glories, one should chant about his glories, and one should always remember his glories, because that is the highest perfection, no stage of life. As far as spiritual work is concerned, it is limited to an enjoyable body. As far as yoga is concerned, it is limited to an acquirement of mystic power. As far as empiric philosophy is concerned, it is limited to the attainment of transcendental knowledge, and as far as transcendental knowledge is concerned, it is limited to the attainment of salvation. Even if they are adopted, there is every chance of discrepancies in discharging the particular type of functions, but adoption of the transcendental devotional service of the Lord has no limit, nor is there fear of falling down. The process automatically reaches the final stage of the grace of the Lord. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, there is an apparent requisite for knowledge, but in the higher stage, there is no necessity of such knowledge. The best and the guaranteed path of progress is therefore engagement in Bhakti Yoga, pure devotional service. The cream of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the foregoing 4 shlokas is sometimes squeezed out by the impersonalists for different interpretations in their favor, but it should be carefully noted that the 4 shlokas were first described by the personality of God himself, and thus the impersonalist has no scope to enter into them because he has no conception of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, the impersonalists may squeeze out any interpretations from them, but such interpretations will never be accepted by those who are taught the disciplic succession from Brahma, as will be cleared up in the following verses. Besides that, the Shruti confirms that the supreme truth, absolute personality of Godhead, never reveals himself to anyone who is falsely proud of his academic knowledge. The Shruti mantra clearly says, Katha Upanishad 1.2.23, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhya Namedya Nabahode Sutena Yam Ivasya Frishnute Tanabhya Tasyad Atma Vinute Tanam Swam. The whole matter is explained by the Lord himself, and one who has no approach to the Lord in his personal feature can really understand the purport of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam without being taught by the Bhagavatas in the disciplic succession. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
So, dear children, thank you so much. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you so much. Thank you, Anuprabhu, for reading that wonderful chapter. I'm sorry, I was on mute. I didn't realize that I was on mute. So tomorrow we'll be completing the. Hopefully, we'll complete this 9th chapter and embark onto the 10th chapter. Bhagavatam is the question to all the questions and answers, and we'll see. So. This section also we saw the sweetness about Krishna, and the next section is also about the sweetness of Krishna. So the reading section, devotees, thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Hare Krishna. So children, don't log off. That was a reading section of mine. Okay. So, okay. And if the reading section devotees want to stay on over here, you're most welcome. We're going to have a quiz over here. Kaun banega Krishna Bhakta? So if you all want to participate, maybe you all can just be a spectator, but you all can have the fun with the children also. You can just observe the fun with the children. Yeah. Adi Sham, how are you, bacha?
I'm good.
And Krishna, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Madhav, how are you, bacha?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I just wanted to tell you one thing.
Tell me.
Mataji, I made a quiz. If I can play with it, everyone else. Mataji.
You have made a quiz?
Yes, Mataji.
Oh, really? You okay?
Yes, Mataji.
What quiz have you made, beta?
On Bhagavad-gītā, if everyone knows.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, let me play my quiz and then we will play your quiz. For sure, what I'll do is I'll make you the co-host and then you can share. Is it on your laptop?
No, Mataji, I'm joining on my iPad only, so it is on the iPad. I can share my screen with everyone else.
Perfect, perfect. Very nice, very
I'll,
nice.
I'll just send the link on the chat box so everyone can join.
Okay, okay. Lalita Priya, how are you?
Good.
You enjoyed yesterday with Mama?
Yes.
So I have many more such games. And, when we have that other section of memory concentration, we will have you. So there was a section with jewelry making, that section. So we'll have many more games with the jewelry section that Mataji isn't feeling well. So she said that she will take that section on the Sunday, where she also has a holiday on that day. So we'll be learning some jewelry making for the Supreme Lord. And today I have some quizzes, and I have brought you all some quiz. Yati, how are you?
Fine, Mataji.
You enjoyed yesterday with Mama?
Yes, Mataji.
Very much you enjoyed? Oh, very nice. Shrija, you enjoyed bacha yesterday?
Yeah, my brother.
Ah, nice, nice, nice.
Mataji, so are we not gonna make jewelry today?
I beg your pardon?
Like like you said, like we're gonna make jewelry making in the like in the word, but are we doing all quizzes type?
No, no. I didn't get your question quite right. Please repeat for me. A little louder because your voice is pretty low.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes.
So are we gonna do quizzes or something else?
Yeah, today is actually a quiz time. And tomorrow is fire-free cooking. And the jewelry making session will be on Sunday. Okay.
Yeah.
Today we'll be having some quizzes, and I think I have that quiz session ready. Let me just open the section for y'all. Give me 1 minute.